this way. But one of the other things that I do on a regular basis and teach is I always use a matrix to go out of, or to drive my PA system. Right? And there's a reason for doing that. Let's go back to my computer there. Hopefully we can see this here. And again, this is part of the advantage. If you just buy into it, you're gonna start to find so many advantages of using audio submasters in your workflow. This is another element of it right here. So I have a matrix set up here to drive the PA system. It's a stereo matrix. And what I do is I'll actually take all my audio subgroups and assign those to the left-right master, right? But I do not assign my vocal subgroups, my vocal main or my BV vocals, to the left-right master. I assign those directly to the matrix, all right? So as you'll notice in the matrix here, I have what I call music left and right, which is my left-right master, and then I also have backing vocals and lead vocals subgroups going up there. So why am I doing that? Why am I going to all that trouble?
If you bus compress the music, you don't want to vary.
Yes. He's exactly right. Because we're working in, our issue is gain before feedback, right? So how many times have you guys started a show? I know I've done this more times than I care to count. How many times have you started a show and thought, wow, the vocal sounds pretty good, but man, my music needs to be brighter. Or, my music's too boomy, or, whatever, and you get in that trap of, okay, well, if I start changing my system EQ right now just to make the music sound better, how's that going to affect my vocal? You just get into this really kind of place you don't want to be mixing an event. Well, this lets you off the hook with it, right? Because I'll just do it here. So what I can do here is I have the music basically sitting on one fader, right? And I have my vocal sitting on the vocal fader. It just goes right up there, right? And what it allows you to do is be really dynamic mixing wise, meaning I can sit here. Don't fall apart when I'm under the... Right, I can so easily move that vocal in and out of music, just having my finger on those two faders. And I do it all night. I mean, once you start to do it, it's so addictive, it's not even funny. Because, like every vocal break, you'll be like pushing up the music going, oh, wow, let me hear that. You can just get so dynamic with the show, it's not even funny. And you just never lose track of the vocal, because the minute you can't hear the vocal, you just turn down the music, especially if you're mixing in high res, right? Now, the other thing that comes with that is that I can do things to that music without any fear of disrupting the vocal tonality or the vocal placement, right? So, I have my music. I'll do this at low level so you can kind of hear what's going on. So I can go to my output bus. Let me do this. So I have, like a mastering style compressor across my mix bus. I have a Pultec EQ across my mix bus. I've even got, a multiband that's similar to a C6 sitting across there if I need it. And I can work with this to my heart's content without ever worrying about what it's going to do to the vocal. And I can sit there and be in this dynamics plug-in. Oops. Come on, give it to me. And be I can be working this all night long. I can be sitting here with the equalizer. Just going crazy on it and not ever worry about it affecting the vocal. I can make my music as bright or as boomy as I want to make it without ever affecting the vocal. So that really honestly should be your golden nugget that you take away from here. Right, so that it's just a killer workflow. Once you do it a few times, you're just going to go, I am never going to work any different than that, And also, the other thing that, and let's go back to the small places. You were talking about the challenges in small places. One of the biggest challenges in small places is making it sound right on the recording, right? Because what you end up on the recording is a mix minus of what's happening in the room. If there's lots of guitar coming off the stage, your recording is not going to have any guitar in it, right? Well, if you're using audio subgroups, you can rebuild that mix. You can rebuild the inverse of that mix in your matrix that you're going to record, right? You might not have any guitar in the PA system. Unassign the subgroup and turn the guitar up on the recording, right? I mean, you can do it just as simple as that. Or, if I only need, minus 20 guitar in the house to make it right, I can then go to the matrix and make it plus, right at 0. I can take it and move it the other direction in the matrix. I can reblend it and offset. That's a job saver right there is what that is. Especially if you're working for a guitar player, the last thing you want to do is turn in a tape or a mix tape that has no guitar on it, right? Better off going the wrong direction and making it all guitar. All right? But it's one of the things that I love about digital is that we get a lot of the same tools and a lot of the same approaches that we had in the studio during those days. None the least of which is the Pultec, right? This Pultec right here, right? I mean, that is, whether you know it or not, you've heard that equalizer on probably 90% of the recordings that have been made in the last 30 or 40 years in some way, shape, or form. Either it's been used at tracking or mixing or both. And there's a reason for it. It offers very specific shapes in that equalizer. I've actually done complete seminars on the Pultec equalizer and why it does what it does. I've actually challenged people at times. I'll come up with an FFT curve where we've created on Pultec, and I say, okay, go to your channel strip and try to do that right there. And after about 20 minutes, they'll get it, and then the punchline is, okay, if I ask you to do that on your channel strip without seeing this first, would you ever do it? And of course the answer is no, because it's this really just kind of mangled channel strip. But that's the beauty of that device, is it allows you to do those kind of shapes on instrumentation very, very quickly, all right? So it's lots of little bits of Pultec throughout the signal chain. I have that on my snare drum, I have it on my bass drum, I have it on my tom-toms, I have it on my drums group, I have it on my left-right master. It's all over the place, but it's just little bits of it in strategic places, right? Same thing goes for tape compression. One of the secrets of that is when we track, we have a certain amount of compression. After that, we might compress during the mix with some sort of tube compressor. That is in turn going to a master bus that is going maybe to 1/2-inch tape, right? I emulate all of that here. My snare drum's got tape compression on it. My mix bus has tape compression on it, right? All of those things are there. There's no silver bullet, right? No silver bullet plug-in that you put on and just go, yep, that's the only one we need, right? It's little bits of it everywhere. It's the oldest saying in the world, right? Mixing is the summation of 1,000,000 small moves. It's not one big move, right? Now, we can juxtaposition that against this whole argument of guys are using too many plugins. You guys shouldn't let them use that many plugins. Do you really want the manufacturers dictating how many plugins you use? I don't. And I use my dad's old theorem here. My dad taught me, don't ever blame the bad plumbing on the pipe wrench, right? It's the plumber, And, it's not that people have too many plugins at their disposal. It's how they're using them. And again, it kind of gets back to what we talked about at the very beginning. You have to have a method. You have to have an approach. And once you have that, you'll use the right amount of processing. I always love this argument. I've just heard this so many times where people have said, yeah, well, they have to use all those plugins to make the console sound good. Really? It's funny. I never heard that argument when we were using actual analog inserts. Well, the reason they're using all that outboard processing is to make the console sound good. No, they're not. We're using it for very specific reasons, It's just technique. It's agenda, okay? So don't be afraid of them. They're just tools. Just learn to use them the right way.